In this lesson, we'll learn how to create seamless animation cycles. What we'll do is create an idle for our spacecraft. Let's go ahead and get started. First, we'll go ahead and define our range. It's going to be from frames 1 to 63. Now, notice I'm using odd frames. This is so that we can have a midpoint frame. So in this case, the midpoint is going to be frame 32. To find that, it's just as simple as taking how many frames are in our range. We would subtract 1, so that's going to be 62, and then divide that in half, which is basically 31, and then we simply add 1, which is frame 32. Just a little math involved in cycling animation. But enough with the math. Let's say we go ahead and start to add our cycle animation to this craft. So we just want to set position keys for now, and we'll go back and add some rotation keys. Went to our move tool, using world coordinates. If you find that you cannot see your gizmo, it's just a matter of pressing Alt-D. So quick hotkey for showing or hiding your transform gizmo. Alright, so on frame 1, I'm going to go ahead and store position key. And when working with cycles, you want your first and last frames to be the same. So in that case, I'll go to frame 63 and also record a key. Now we can go to our midpoint and lift the ship. And what we can also do is make sure that we'll only store a position Y key. Again, we want to animate cleanly. So with that said, we can go to animation, and under our record menu, we'll go ahead and uncheck link XYZ subchannels. Now go ahead and just lift the ship up and go ahead and record another key. Alright, so here's what we have. Now our ship is moving up and down, and notice it is a seamless cycle. But where it gets more complex is when we start to add, let's say, some side-to-side movement. That's what we're going to animate next. So now what I'll go ahead and do is just turn on auto key, and I'll add some position X movement to have it kind of shift side to side. We'll do it in a way where we'll get a circular pattern in the end. So in frame 17, let's go ahead and move the ship a few units over to our left. If you like your value to match mine, I'm going to work with a value of -13. We don't want too much movement. And then as we get to the end of our cycle, we can have the ship move to our right at about frame 48. And being that we use a value of -13, another trick with cycles is when we get to the other half of the cycle, we want to use the reciprocal. So on 48, I'm going to go ahead and put in a value of +13. So now we get the circular pattern. We can see that clearly by looking at our animation path. Let's go ahead and see how the animation looks as we hit play. So it's still a little bit rough. So at this point, we can go ahead and cycle the animation infinitely, and then we can use that track before, track after curve to help us make sure the cycle is going to be seamless. Now, what is the track before and track after curve? Well, let's go ahead and check that out. I'll right-click and head over to the F-Curve Manager. So first, to actually cycle the animation infinitely, simply head over to Functions and choose track before, track after. Notice we're not able to actually use these settings until we go ahead and select our keys. What we want to do in this case is go ahead and use repeat. We have other settings here. Choose from. Oscillate is like a ping pong effect. We also have offset repeat. This is great for translating a walk cycle forward. Repeat is great for what we're about to do now. Cycle the animation. And continue works similar to repeat, but it will offset our animation slightly. And then constant is what we basically have it set to, where after the maximum time or minimum time, the animation will stop. And we can simply turn all of that off. So I'm going to go ahead and choose repeat. So now you'll see an infinite curve as we use track before, track after. We'll see an infinite curve after our last key. So now we can use these infinite curves to kind of match our F curves in a way where we'll get a seamless cycle. So to show you that, let's go ahead and go back to our position X, and I'll go ahead and use or turn off show all tracks so we can just focus on this F curve. So the reason why we're getting that rough result in our position X is because you can see that as we enter into our first key, looking at the infinite curve, we have this 0 angle. Instead, what we'd want to do is have the F curve blend in. So to do so, we can go ahead and take our tangent, go ahead and pull that down. So I'm going to pull that down on the start key. And on the end key, I'll simply take the tangent here and pull that up so our real F curve blends seamlessly into our infinite F curve. Now watch this. If we were to hit play, we're going to get a seamless animation. So that's how we can create seamless cycles. Now if you like, you can go ahead and add some rotation to this. I'm going to make sure we can record rotate keys. I'll select our ship, go to the rotate tool, pressing the R key. And let's go ahead and also animate on 17 and 48. So on 17, just looking at this, as the ship is moving up, we'll want to have it rotate down slightly. And then as the ship moves down, we can have it rotate the opposite direction. What we could also do is take that value that we used on frame 17, and just to round it out, it's about a value of -2. So that means on 48, we can use a value of +2. Now remember, we didn't lock down our rotation at the end of the animation. We only locked down position. So what that means is we'd want to head over to animation, record, and make sure that link XYZ subchannels is this time turned on. We can now go to frame 1, making sure our rotation is set to 0. We can now go ahead and record a 0 key. I'll go to the end of the animation, set the rotation back to 0, and with auto key turned on, it's automatically recorded 0 keys for our rotation. Now, it's just a matter of heading back over